fuck do you want the Dems to do? First of all, this should never be like, you should never actually come in here with this kind of energy, okay? Let me explain. One, I talk about what the Democrats should do all the time. I actually showed you the Leisure Miller video as well. That was really good in terms of like what they can do. They should be obstructing. They should behave. They should play ball in the same way that the Republicans do when they're the minority party. Okay? They have already designed they've already designed a like fairly coherent strategy. Obstruct. Democrats are out here talking about how they'll do bipartisan compromise. Please just give us anything to work with. That is the wrong message. They should be consistently talking about how damaging it is that the Republicans are going with full tilt austerity. I'll take it one step further. The Republicans are not even just going with full tilt austerity. The Republicans, interestingly enough, right now have they have Congress to do things with, right? They have congressional power. And yet, for some weird reason, or not a weird reason, actually, for a very nefarious reason, the Trump executive office is actually deliberately sidestepping congressional approval and doing everything with executive mandate. And I think the reason why they're doing that is because they want to stress test the entire system and see how far they can get away with. And it's understandable that these regular ass libs are saying, hey, Democrats, can you lead, please? What is happening? Well, it turns out Democrats are pissed off at them. So one of the groups, pejorative now, extends to any cohort of humans asking Democrats in any organized fashion to do anything beyond just fundraising, sending death robots to Israel and shrugging. Anyone who wants politicians to do politics is a pie-in-the-sky purist. We have officially gotten to a point where the Democrats are basically stating like, oh, you want us to actually do things? You want us to actually stop the Republican Party, for example, or try to stop the Republican Party, for example? What kind of ridiculous activism is this? It is kind of crazy that this is the state of affairs within the Democratic Party. Okay, a rudderless ship, a operation simply designed to extract resources from as many people as possible so that they can basically send all of that money back to, I don't know, different kinds of marketing initiatives that their friends and their immediate family members work at. It's this massive grift. It's this money extraction operation. And there is no way, there is no reason to demand anything from them. Just give them money and shut the fuck up. At least they are not the Republicans. This is basically this is my criticism of the Dems in full display. Like, this is them basically admitting what I say all the time. It's like they just looked at the situation and said, nah. What do you mean? No, like, what did you think this was? You misunderstood. No, we are not the Republicans, so give us money and shut the fuck up. It's fantastic. It's wonderful. Here's a meme about it.
Party. We love those quippy one-liners that make some people feel good about themselves and make us go viral while stunting any real progress from those pesky naysayers we don't like. I'm speaking. We're the Democratic Party. We sprinted to the right to try to get those people who would never vote for us and absolutely fucking lost. We're the Democratic Party. We currently hold the record for the most deportations and we consistently vote against migrant communities and we are not afraid to brag about that. We're the Democratic Party. We funded a genocide. We're the Democratic Party. We marked any emails about Gaza during our presidential campaign as no response, so they would be exempt from any outreach or engagement from us. We're the Democratic Party. We pushed an internal memo to get Biden to say that COVID was no longer a threat to score political points, completely rejecting any science and getting you to take your mask off, further driving a wedge between disabled and immunocompromised people and everyone else, also while doing nothing about long COVID and being extremely unclear about the status that we're in this pandemic. If we could just have that line start at like 2100 and not 0, I think that would really help us. No, they're not gonna look into what manufacturing consent means. They don't ask questions of us. We're the Democratic Party. All that considered, we push for mask bans alongside our Republican friends. We're the Democratic Party. We will always...
Okay, to be fair, masks, scary. Yeah. If you wear a mask, especially if you're at a protest, okay, then it's much harder for the surveillance apparatus to log your identification. So, sorry. Oh, are you sick? Are you sick in public? And you wanted to be, you wanted to be a nice person? You wanted to be a thoughtful individual? Fuck you. Except also, when push comes to shove, when there's like wildfires, for example, taking place, then we'll actually go back to the exact same groups to be like, hey, we really fucking need masks right now. Can you guys give us some of your masks? It turns out masks are not a face diaper.
Always make concessions to our Republican friends. We're the Democratic Party. We know that the other side is like way worse, so just like give us money. We're the Democratic... Yeah. Oh yeah, you saw that. I know. You said that they were going after people who didn't vote for us rather than us. I know. Yeah. We love that part. We're the Democratic Party. If you're not at the table, you're on the menu.
Slay. The problem here will always be that we have high standards with the Democratic Party. We want them to do good shit all the time versus the Republican Party, who voters have no standards and vote to make neighbors' lives worse instead of better. No, that's not true. Okay. And I'll explain why. I get what you're saying. In terms of the Republican agenda, their agenda is death and destruction, which is easier to do. It's easier to break things than it is to build things. Except that didn't used to be the case. Okay. Post FDR, it was actually much harder to untangle the federal government. It was much harder to advocate for austerity. That is the last 40 years of neoliberalism that has made it so that starving the beast is actually the norm, and people have no expectations from their government, and that Democrats are not expected to actually beef up the federal government in any way, shape, or form. That's like we're inherently antagonistic towards those sorts of initiatives. Okay? That wasn't always the case, though. That was not always the case. There was a time when, the government used to do things and people used to like that the government used to do things. There was a time when we took advantage of these social safety nets, at least to the degree in which it existed, when living standards were better. So I don't think that there is do I believe that the Republicans have an easier go at it than the Democrats do, given the standards and the expectations from the broader American population? Absolutely. The problem is Democrats don't even actually push for any of those things. Anyway, here is the conversation that took place from someone that was there at that meeting, trying to figure out how much I can say without doxing myself. But long story short, there was a meeting/protest today where over 100 community leaders and advocates met with Schumer, among others, and it went horribly wrong because he basically admitted that they never thought about how to fight back. Everyone was mad as hell and demanding Dems do more. At one point, he basically laughs at my mom and smugly tells her that if she wants the community to be helped, then she needs to run for a position and help her community. And then my mom had to sternly remind him that she did. And she ran for her position and she won, which is why she's there with the rest of the advocates and leaders, because they're doing their jobs and the top Democrats aren't doing theirs. Super awkward. Remember, the entire dynamic of this meeting that took place yesterday was specifically for community organizers, activists, people that actually work within the Democratic Party, but like are directly door knockers and like the voice of the Democratic Party, the outreach operation of the Democratic Party, were going back to their elected representatives and going, guys, things are fucking going crazy. Okay. Things are blowing up. And if your expectation is that you just sit by and wait for the Republicans to perish due to their incompetence, like this is not going to work. You need to help them fail. If possible, please. Can you do something, please? Can you maybe tilt the scales in our favor in any way, shape, or form? And their expectation is no. Also, towards the end, they told the crowd that everything's off the record and they can't be held to their word. Lamau. And then they did. They leaked this meeting that took place. They leaked to the Axios guys that they actually hated. They said that the entire conversation was off the record. And then, of course, predictably, they went back to Axios and leaked to them, which is a center-right publication, of course, that they are pissed off at the liberal groups like Move On and Indivisible. If you are the Democratic Party and you're pissed off at Move On and Indivisible, who is in your corner? There's no one in the base then. You just hate your base. You actively hate your base. You despise your base. This is the base of the party. This is not like a lot of people will immediately say, Hasan, you're a socialist. Hasan, you don't like the Democratic Party. You want a proletarian revolution. Okay? Hasan, you are inherently antagonistic because you have a biased position on the genocide in Gaza, and that's why you're constantly cynically criticizing the Democratic Party. Those people don't understand that I work within the confines of the existing political structure all the time. Okay? This does not mean that I agree with everything, but I understand that if politics is the art of the possible, okay, then do something. Do something and show us what is possible. Okay? Yes, it is correct. I am biased against a country that is doing genocide and a Democratic Party that allowed it to happen. Okay? Having said that, however, I have maintained this position throughout the entire election cycle. If you were in here watching me cover the Democratic Party's incompetence, okay, socialists benefiting immensely from capitalism. Got it? What? Dude, I just want healthcare, man. What are you talking about, please? And it's not even just for me. Like, I'm good. All right? It's like, I understand that higher degrees of socialization and a government that actually allows there to be more unionization will open up opportunities for more political mobilization down the line. That's it. That's it. That's all I'm saying. It is crazy. Do Dems even care about their voter base? No, they don't. And this is my point. Like, anyway, socialist yet tremendously beneficial. Capitalism is great for me. Yeah, okay. So what? What's the expectation? I should just shut the fuck up and just be like, no, the Democrats are doing great, guys. And I'll take it one step further. The Republicans are doing great. They're doing great for me. It's awesome. Anyway, it's ridiculous that in this time and space, like, I can't even have any sort of criticism of the Democratic Party from the perspective of someone who wants the Democratic Party to do better. You know? It's ridiculous. Anyway, I've done this throughout the entire election cycle as well. My criticisms, no matter how much people tried to claim that they were like biased in favor of Gaza and cynically aggressive towards the Democrats for allowing death and destruction in Gaza, wasn't just about Gaza. I used Gaza as a way to describe the inconsistencies and the lack of interest from the Dems in actually paying attention to what was going on and the very reasonable demands that its base of support was demanding. Okay? Gaza is a microcosm of that issue at the heart of the Democratic Party right now. There are so many other issues that I also talked about throughout the entire election cycle that the Dems were not responsive to. Okay? And this is another instance where I am explaining to you that I'm not saying this from the perspective of someone who cynically wants to undermine the Democratic Party. There are plenty of people, many very thoughtful leftist content creators out there who I agree with almost entirely, who very actively say, no, it's done. It's over. Dems are done. Throw them in the trash. Okay? Throw them in the trash bin. I'm not saying that. Okay? I'm still maintaining the position that, like, this is the only game in town. And if this is the only game in town, then they have to do something. And it's crazy to me that liberals still turn around and say, yeah, we are the only game in town, and you should shut the fuck up. You know? They are actively throwing themselves in the trash by doing stuff like this. Anyway, let's take a look at this closed door meeting, though. Closed door meeting for House Democrats this week included a gripe fest directed at liberal grassroots organizations. Sources tell Axios. Members of the steering and policy committee with House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries in the room on Monday complained activist groups like Move On and Indivisible have facilitated thousands of phone calls to members' offices. People are pissed, the senior House Democrat who was at the meeting said, of lawmakers' reactions to the calls. The Democrat said Jeffries himself is very frustrated at the groups who are trying to stir up a more confrontational opposition to Trump. What is your job, Hakeem Jeffries? You are the House leader for the Dems. You are Nancy Pelosi's very own guy. What do you mean you're very frustrated? He's like, oh man, I can't believe I had to take this meeting with these losers and take time out of my busy schedule sucking Silicon Valley executive penis. Because remember, Hakeem Jeffries went to Silicon Valley and talked to the tech execs who are still on board with the Dems, the big boosters and the big donors, and said, hey, don't worry, we'll give you unlimited access when we're in power, just as the Republicans have seemingly given unlimited access to some of the right-wing tech CEOs. We'll do that for you. Okay? A Jeffries spokesperson disputed that characterization and noted to Axios that their office regularly engages with dozens of stakeholder groups, including Move On and Indivisible, including as recently as Monday. Zoom in. There were a lot of people who were like, we got to stop groups from doing this. People are concerned that they're saying we're not doing enough, but we're not in the majority, said one member. Some Democrats see the callers as barking up the wrong tree, given their limited power as the minority party in Congress. It's been a constant theme of us saying, please call the Republicans. If the Dems don't listen to us when our demands are, please pressure the Republicans and obstruct every step of the way, please do something, anything, okay? And you're saying, dude, go yell at the Republicans. Why would the Republicans ever listen? I reject and resent the implication that congressional members are simply standing by passively, said Representative Richie Torres. Yeah, he's not. He's not standing by passively. He's actually actively helping the right-wing agenda, as long as it's as long as it's helpful to Israeli causes. The other side, people are angry, scared, and they want to see more from their lawmakers right now than floor speeches about Elon Musk. Indivisible co-founder Leah Greenberg told Axios. Indivisible is urging people who are scared to call their members of Congress, whether they have a Democrat or Republican, and make specific procedural asks. Our supporters are asking Democrats to demand specific red lines are met before they offer their vote to House Republicans on the budget when Republicans inevitably fail to pass a bill on their own. What's crazy about this, okay, what's crazy about the situation is that Chuck Schumer has said that they would pass the budget. Chuck Schumer has said that they would pass the budget. Like the one fight that the Democrats have, the one tool that they have in their tool belt in terms of like stopping process, Chuck Schumer is like, yeah, we're not going to do that. We're the minority party. Who gives a shit? It's amazing. It is truly amazing that there's no fight left in the Dems at all when this is the moment where they're supposed to fight. Even if it was just about Gaza, so what? A genocide being your deal breaker is the only right thing. It's one good example of a single issue voting. Why not double down on that? The reason why is because it is a larger problem, even domestically. Okay? And there are plenty of people, especially people that I talk to, that truly do not care. Okay? They are Western chauvinists. They are American exceptionalists, even if they consider themselves to be progressives. And in order to explain to them this issue, in order to explain to them the problems at the heart of the Democratic Party, I have to not only talk about Gaza, but also talk beyond that as well, because the reality of the matter is these are genuine issues that extend even outside of Gaza. It's understandable that that is a big enough deal for many people, okay, myself included. It's genocide. It's the one red line that most moral people should have, okay? But as my job as a political commentator, my job is to speak to liberals, conservatives, people that are outside of my immediate ideological allegiances. Okay? No genocide, it's a war. It is a genocide, chatter. I can't believe that you're still doing genocide denial. What a ridiculous situation. I guess I can't even get that mad at people because like virtually every single mainstream media resource is actively undermining the truth. They unfollowed immediately after sending that message, by the way. I know. Hasan getting the TYT treatment right now? Wait, what? No. Why are people not putting all that important little next to Bernie Sanders' name to good use? Democratic Party is officially dead. All right. Let's see what Sam Cedar did this morning.
I know a lot of people who listen to this program have probably contacted their representatives. Richie Torres from New York says, I reject and resent the implication that congressional Democrats are simply standing by passively. I want you to call him right now. And here's his numbers.
202-225-4361 for the DC.
I swear I'm not trying to troll here, but is this similar to how typical education in Turkey leads to the denial of the Armenian genocide? Gaza genocide denial is just casual and accepted here. I mean, it's a little different because it's happening right now. Like what's happening in Turkey is, or what has happened in Turkey historically is, yes, education. Like it's not even a talking point. Like people's starting position is that it is a lie, that the Armenian genocide is a lie. That's what you're taught in school. Okay. All right. Let's see what Sam Cedar is doing. Those little radicals over there at the Majority Report.
Wrong. 718-503-9610.
And apologize for asking the Democrats to do something more. They have no leverage. And you're asking them to do stuff.
Elections have consequences, and Richie Torres was hoping that consequence was a vacation or something.
He's doing the best he can. He resents it.
I resent you people.
He resents the voters. Now you go and call and apologize.
Yeah. You go and call and apologize. I got my mom in a Majority Report after she stopped watching TYT recently. That's the wrong clip. He calls and leaves a message later. Yeah. Anyway. All right. So that's the situation. Dems are mad as hell. Mad at their base for demanding that they do things. How dare you demand that I do things? I don't want to do things. That's crazy. The expectation from me is that I do things. No thanks. Give me money now. All right. Yeah, stop linking the fucking same Adam Johnson tweet. I know, dude. I started off the conversation by looking at this. Okay, please. I know, chatters. I know. This is how we started the convo, okay? God damn. Yeah, nobody wants to work anymore. The Democrats are quiet quitting. You know who's not quiet quitting, though? Freaking Donald Trump, dude. I told you Democrats resent their voters and want to punish them for not voting hard enough for them. I mean, this is a entirely new entirely new low for the Dems. One that is difficult to top, really. It's kind of wild. Like the expectation here is that the Dems do the bare minimum responsibility as like the opposition party and represent their constituents. You know what they can do. They should be obstructing. They should behave. They should play ball in the same way that the Republicans do when they're the minority party. Okay, they have already designed they've already designed a like fairly coherent strategy. Obstruct. Democrats are out here talking about how they'll do bipartisan compromise. Please just give us anything to work with. That is the wrong message. They should be consistently talking about how damaging it is that the Republicans are going with full tilt austerity. I'll take it one step further. The Republicans are not even just going with full tilt austerity. The Republicans, interestingly enough, right now have they have Congress to do things with, right? They have congressional power. And yet, for some weird reason, or not a weird reason, actually, for a very nefarious reason, the Trump executive office is actually deliberately sidestepping congressional approval and doing everything with executive mandate. And I think the reason why they're doing that is because they want to stress test the entire system and see how far they can get away with. That's crazy. You shouldn't have to hear that from the lever. You should be hearing that from every single Democrat. It is crazy. Like, I'm shocked that Ro Khanna came out with this statement. Like, and it gives you, and Ro Khanna is supposed to be one of the better fighters against the Trump agenda, right? Bill Clinton reduced the federal workforce by 351,000 by working with Congress to have voluntary buyouts under a Workforce Restructuring Act. The workforce grew by 2% in Trump's first term. The model for real lasting efficiency is work with Congress. How is that a good thing? I want 10 million more Americans working for the federal government, okay? I don't understand. People look at this and go, that's bureaucracy. That's inefficient. It's like, no, dude, it's a jobs program. That's what the government is supposed to do. Of course, I want more federal employees. I want a bigger government, okay? And a Democratic Party should be communicating why that's a good thing. Give me 200 million American federal government employees, okay? Especially when a lot of the austerity and a lot of the cuts that they're signaling with these executive orders and with DOGE in particular, they don't even make a dent in the overall budget, in our overall spending, because a lot of the spending goes to obviously the military, and a big chunks of the spending actually go to very helpful programs that are very popular. Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, they haven't gotten to that part yet, okay? When that part comes, when that battle comes, if the Democrats have nothing to say about that, I don't know what I will do, okay? I don't know what the American public will do. But having said that, these cuts that they're talking about, these cuts that they want to engage in, like I'll use the example of the NIH, okay? The NIH cuts in terms of cutting overhead spending from the National Institute of Health will undermine medical research in this country. This is a devastating thing to do, okay? But the overhead cuts that come with the National Institute of Health grants that are being cut will end up downsizing colleges, okay? What that means is they'll end up having to fire, in red states, public public institutions of higher learning in red states will see layoffs. That means you are going to be firing Republicans as well. People do not have the foresight to comprehend how this entire system ties together, okay? It is ridiculous when you talk about layoffs at the federal level, when you talk about restructuring the federal government, you're talking about tens of thousands of people losing their jobs, okay? When you talk about cutting the NIH funding, you're talking about, again, tens of thousands of people losing their jobs. Republicans, independents, Democrats alike, Americans that are getting laid off. And for what purpose? Is there a good reason for any of this? No, of course not. But it's ridiculous that Ro Khanna is talking about cutting the federal workforce as a positive. Like talking about Bill Clinton cutting the federal workforce as a good thing. That wasn't a good thing at all. That was a bad thing. What's next? Is he going to talk about how Bill Clinton restructured welfare as a positive? That's ridiculous. Yeah. Alabama is a great example of this. Alabama's second largest employer is the University of Alabama. And Alabama reps, Republicans, as a matter of fact, already complaining about NIH funding cuts because it's going to affect the state's second largest employer. That's it. These guys are so horny for austerity. Remember yesterday when we were talking about the IMF and the World Bank and how they do economic imperialism on the global south? We're doing it to ourselves right now. And they're doing it in a way where they're not even thinking about the genuine damage that they're causing to the lives of millions of Americans. Ridiculous. And if you are not a part of this, like if you don't know anyone that's like a federal employee, if you don't know anyone that like works at a college, whether it's a, woke college professor or not, or even someone in the janitorial staff at a university, if you have no way of comprehending how this will be damaging, okay, you just think, oh, it's great that the government is cutting. It's so costly. It's so costly. They could be spending it on good things. Okay, what are they going to be spending it on? What are the good things that they're going to be spending all of this additional freed up resources on? Here, I'll give you a great example of how these cuts are idiotic at the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. The CFPB is tasked with a very good purpose, okay? The CFPB has a $1 billion budget. They haven't even used the entirety of their budget. They've only used like a quarter of $1 billion so far. I think they still have $700 million in the tank, okay? And with a quarter of that budget, with a quarter of that $1 billion budget, okay, they were able to bring back to the American consumers $21 billion of fraudulent funds that were extracted from the American consumers, okay? Credit card debt, predatory lenders, things of that nature, okay? Medical debt. That's what they did. That's what the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau did